Hello everyone, welcome to my coronavirus time presentation of CPR, the use of an AED and first aid. My name is Rami Leventhal. I'm a paramedic and I'm a simulation education faculty at Northern Kentucky University. I'm happy that you guys can join my little video today, and I hope you find this interesting and helpful. What we're going to talk about today is about CPR, how important it is and how easy it is to do that for someone in need. We're going to talk about an AED, which is an automated external defibrillator, where to find it and how to use it. And we're going to talk a little about first aid, how to help a baby that's choking, how to use an EpiPen, and how to do wound care for someone that has a bad wound or something like that. So we're going to start about talking about CPR. CPR stands for cardiopulmonary resuscitation, and it is very, very, very important. Every year, so many people die from this outside of hospitals, and actually 90% of heart attacks or cardiac arrest happen outside of hospitals. Only 10% of those happen inside of hospitals, and usually it is up to a bystander, a family member, a friend, or even a stranger to help someone until paramedics can arrive. And that's super, super important. So what we're going to do today, I'm going to show you on this CPR mannequin, you'll see the screen behind me, how to perform quality CPR. If you're a bystander doing just compressions, or if you feel comfortable enough doing compressions and breaths in CPR. You'll see feedback behind me, which we'll talk about. And then we'll talk about the use of an automated external defibrillator and some first aid items. So, first things first, when do you do CPR? Well, it's never a good time. It's always a stressful time. And unfortunately, typically what happens when someone needs CPR, a lot of people are either scared to do it or they just gather around and wait for paramedics to show up. Well, unfortunately, in the US, it takes about 6 to 8 minutes for paramedics to show up in an urban area, and even longer if you live in a remote area. So every minute is so important, because unfortunately every minute that passes for someone who needs chest compressions or CPR that doesn't get it, his or her chance of survival goes down a lot. So the first 10 minutes, we really want to make sure that someone is starting chest compressions. So how do we do it? Well, first you want to make sure that the person's okay. And there are a few steps to follow before we do anything. So we're going to give you a hypothetical scenario. You are at the mall, hopefully after the coronavirus, because right now we're all stuck at home. You're at the mall and someone comes out of the movie theater that you just went to and just collapses right there, right outside the movie theater in the mall. What's the first thing you should do? Well, the first thing you should do is call for help. Yell for help. If you see someone collapsing, you want to yell for help. If you're by yourself, grab your phone and call 911 and put them on speakerphone. If you're not by yourself, just have someone say, you in the green shirt or you in the red shirt, call 911 and tell them that we're here. If it's a situation where you didn't see someone collapse to the ground, you just show up and there's a bunch of people, you want to check for responsiveness. How do you do that? Well, if it's an adult, you just tap and shout, hey, are you okay? Are you okay? If they're not responding, we're not going to bother with checking a pulse or anything like that, because in a stressful time, it's really hard to do that. So we're just going to check for responsiveness if they're responding. If they're not responding, again, grab your phone, put it on speakerphone, dial 911, or have someone call 911. If there are more people around you, for example, we're in the mall, right? Send someone to go get the AED, which we'll talk about in a little bit. The AED is a lifesaver. CPR is great for keeping someone's heart beating when they need it, and we'll talk about that too. And AED can actually reverse the cause of the cardiac arrest that got this person there in the first place. And every large gathering public place in America has an AED somewhere. Your school, the mall, any public place, you're gonna find an AED. And yes, everybody can use an AED. It tells you exactly what to do, and we'll talk about that. So we call 911, we send someone to get the AED, and our person's not responding, right? They tap, shout, no response. So what we're gonna do, if we're doing chest compressions only, we're going to start with chest compressions. So what we want to do first is expose their chest, because we want to make sure that there's no a pacer or a patch or any metal or wires, because we don't want to stab them with anything. We don't want to hurt ourselves either. So we want to make sure their chest is exposed. And don't worry, because if they're in a cardiac arrest, they're not going to complain about having their chest exposed. What we want to then do is get our feet as close as possible to the mannequin, or to the person, I'm sorry, and position ourselves so our body weight is compressing on their chest, right? Because it's very hard to do chest compressions with your arms only. You get tired really fast. If they're on the ground, you want to use your body weight to do that. So we can get as close as possible to the patient, the person. We're going to lock our elbows straight ahead. So you see the palm of my hand is going to be pressing on the chest. And where we're going to press is going to be the sternum, or the flat bone that's on your chest between your breasts. You're going to feel there's going to be a flat bone, and that's where we're going to put the palm of our hand. Once we put our palm of our hand there and we press down, you'll see on the screen behind me that I'm compressing the chest. See that? So, and it's very easy to do when my body weight is supporting me. So I want to make sure that I'm doing this fast. Also, I want to make sure that I'm releasing my hands. If you'll see that little bar behind me, it's going up and down. It's telling me with a yellow arrow, like, release the hands from the chest so you can have full recoil, and press completely down so you can reach. You gotta press at least 2 inches. Now, what happens if I go too slow? Well, we're not helping them. We want to go to a beat of at least 100 times a minute. So a famous song everybody knows is Staying Alive. So we want to try and beat that song, or any upbeat song, compress fast. Hard and fast, hard and fast, hard and fast. Make sense? And we want to do this until help arrives, or until someone relieves you. Usually if there's a bunch of people, you get really tired really quick. So within a minute or two, not longer than 2 minutes, you want to get someone in there to replace you. And if they don't know how to do it, show them how to do it. Because if you're the only one who knows how to do CPR and do chest compressions, you'll get tired really quick and you won't be effective. So you want to make sure someone gets in there. So that was compressions only. And you can see on the screen behind me, because I didn't do any breaths and I was going slow, I got 38%. So what I'm going to do next, I'm going to reset the mannequin. And I'm going to show you how we perform breaths when we don't have any equipment. For me today, I'm just using a face shield to breathe on the mannequin. What we want to do after we did 30 compressions, if there's nothing's happening, we want to breathe for them. So I'm going to take my face shield, or if I don't have a face shield, I'm going to take their head, lift it back so their chin is aiming toward the ceiling. I'm going to pinch their nose, get a nice seal with my mouth over their mouth, and breathe. 2 quick breaths, no more than 10 seconds, and go right back to compressions. Makes sense? And if you look at the chest again, you want to make sure that you see chest rise and fall. For chest compressions only, for the first few minutes, you're okay. We do have enough oxygen reserve in our body to keep us going. So we want to make sure that we're doing a really good job in chest compressions. If you're there for a long time and you feel comfortable breathing for them, you're going to do 30 to 2, 30 compressions and 2 breaths. Make sense? So what I'm going to do next, I'm going to demonstrate a full cycle of CPR. I'm going to check for responsiveness, call for help, tell someone to get an AED, and start 30 to 2 compressions. And then the system will score me and we'll see how I do. Okay? So again, I'm at the mall, I just watched a movie, I came out and saw this person, or didn't see, but I see a bunch of people standing around, and I see this person collapse on the ground. So I move over to the side and say, "Ma'am, are you okay? Are you okay?" I don't see any response. They're not responding to me. All right, you in the green shirt, call 911, get them on speakerphone, tell them what's going on, where we are. You're in the red shirt, go get the AED, it's down the hall. I saw it on my way in. It's a big red box in the glass. Go get that, please. All right, I'm gonna expose the chest. I'm gonna start compressions, 3 to 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 30. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 30. And it's tiring, and that was only 1 minute. How did I do? 99%. It'll tell me exactly why. So you can see why doing fast, hard compressions is so important. So here on the screen, you can see that I made sure that I allowed a forward coil, that I went at least 2 centimeters to reach the chest. I was going a little fast, but my average was about 122 compressions a minute. And I gave 4 ventilations total, 2 each time. So that's that in a nutshell. So that's a CPR. So again, super important. And a couple statistics I'll share with you that are important. Only 3% of Americans know how to do CPR, and that includes doctors, nurses, paramedics, police officers. So I hope you find this helpful, and be agents of change. If you see something going on, do something about it. So many times as a paramedic, I responded to a scene, and most of the cases I see people just standing around and saying, here they are, here they are. So it's nice to see when someone actually does something. And if you go online, just YouTube stories about teenagers like yourselves, or kids that save their friends, save the stranger by just doing the right thing, doing CPR, early CPR until help arrives. So super important. The next thing we'll talk about is the automated external defibrillator, or the AED. These are found, again, every public place, and they're super important because by using this, which we will in a moment, the machine talks to you, tells you exactly what to do, so anybody can use it. It's safe, and what it does, it can detect if there is a electrical malfunction of the heart or cardiac arrest, where it can shock them to reverse that. So it detects pulseless ventricular tachycardia, which is a really uncontrollable fast heart rate that has no pulse, or ventricular fibrillation, where is a condition where the heart just quivers in place and really doesn't pump anything. So it can recognize those 2 rhythms and shock the patient for you. So we're going to use this AED on this mannequin so you can see how it works. And again, the manufacturers are all different. They all look a little different, but they all do the same thing. So I'm going to open it up, and it has instructions here. It tells me number 1, number 2, number 3. Number 1, tune the machine on. Number 2, follow prompts.
Apply pads to patient's bare chest.
All right, it tells me to apply the
Plug in
pads.
pads connector next to flashing light.
So first I'm going to apply the pads, and you can see there's pictures on them. It'll tell me where to put it. So one's going to go here.
Apply pads, plug in connector.
And one is going to go in the upper chest, just as the picture shows. And I'm going to apply the connector by the yellow flashing light, as it says.
Analyzing heart rhythm. Do not touch the patient. Shock advised. Charging. Stay clear of patient. Deliver shock now. Press the orange button now. Shock delivered. Paused. Begin CPR.
So that's an AED. Really, really simple to use. It tells you exactly what to do, and it can save lives. Very, very important. Very important too when paramedics arrive and try and help. We don't take these off. They actually take this with them to the hospital because there's a chip here that monitors the patient, and it could tell the hospital exactly what happened while the pads were on the patient. Pretty cool, right? Anybody can use this. So we're going to put the AED away, and we're going to talk a little about first aid. I'm going to say goodbye to Annie here, our friend. So I have this baby doll here, and we're going to talk about what happens. I don't know if you have siblings that are babies, or you babysit, or in a park or anywhere where you encounter someone with a baby or a baby. Babies, a very common thing that happens with babies is choking. So we're going to show you what to do if you find a baby's choking, because unlike adults that can say, hey, we're choking, or hold their neck, babies can't do that. So they, what happens is with choking, here are the important signs. So if you encounter a baby and you see they're having a difficulty with something, but they're crying or they're making a vocal sound, just keep an eye on them because they're okay. It's when they look distressed, like they're kind of shocked or their color's turning and they're not making any voice, no crying, no vocal sound, that means that something's in their airway, and that's a problem. And they probably put something in their mouth and are choking. Because babies, especially up to age 2, very high tendency see a shiny object or something that looks nice and they put it right in their mouth. That's a very common thing. So what we're going to do is learn what to do to help them if they're choking. So what you're going to find, obviously you're going to tap and see how if they're okay, and if again they're turning blue or not making any sound, we're going to take our baby, right? We're going to hold him kind of like a football, right? See how I'm holding the baby? So I'm going to grab my forearm and support the head of the baby, very important, a big part of their body. And what I'm going to do is going to give with my 2 fingers 5 little chest compressions to try and push that object out. And you can see I'm going to use my leg to support me, and I want to make sure that I'm using gravity to help me so the baby's facing down towards the ground. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to flip the baby over. Again, support my hand. With the heel of my hand, I'm going to tap on the back between the shoulder blades, the back of the baby 5 times, hard, to try and knock that item out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Flip the baby over again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Make sense? Again, support my knee. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we're going to do this until the object comes out and he starts crying, or until he really turns blue and loses consciousness completely. If they become limp and stop moving, that means that it got worse and we need to start CPR. So then we lay him on the ground and perform CPR. But that's how you relieve choking in an infant. So we'll say goodbye to him. The next thing we're going to talk about is the EpiPen. So, some of you may already know about the EpiPen. There's different manufacturers for these. The EpiPen is intended for people who have a severe allergic reaction to an item. If it's peanut butter or bee sting or eggs, it could be a variety of things. And they are prescribed an EpiPen. What happens is if someone is severely or allergic or has an anaphylactic reaction, which is an extreme reaction to, let's say, a bee sting, they might be prescribed an EpiPen and carry it, but if they're having an anaphylactic reaction, they need help. So I'll show you how to use this. This is a trainer, and there's a lot of different manufacturers. Some of them actually talk to you and tell you what to do. This is a pretty simple one. And what happens again in an anaphylactic reaction is if someone, let's say, is allergic to bee stings, the reaction doesn't happen the first time they get stung with a bee. What happens is someone gets stung by a bee for the first time. Their body remembers that antigen or that bee sting and puts it in the memory cell. So next time they get stung by a bee, they overreact. So a lot of systems in your body overreact. You start swelling, your tongue swells, your lips, your airway shuts down. It's a big problem. And the epinephrine and the EpiPen can really help save their lives and reverse that. So how do we use an EpiPen? What you want to do is take the safety off the EpiPen. So usually it's colored and says safety. And the orange tip in this case is where the needle is going to come out. So I took the safety off. What I'm going to take is I'm going to put the patient to their thigh and press and hold at least for 10 seconds. Press hard. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then release. You want to make sure that the medication gets into their system. So again, you're going to grab their EpiPen. If they can't help themselves, we're going to help them. And take the trigger off and give it to them and hold it for 10 seconds. A lot of people ask, well, I'm not a medical professional and can I do this? Yes, you are protected all over the United States by the Good Samaritan law, that if you're trying to help someone that can't help themselves to save their lives, you are protected. So if you know someone that has one, ask them about the EpiPen. They can tell you a lot about it, and yes, they'll be more than happy that you are comfortable and know how to use this to help them if they need your help. Okay, the last thing we're going to talk about is first aid. So here I have a nasty looking arm with different injuries. We're going to focus on the cut on the hand, and I'll show you what to do because these can become very, very serious. Obviously, we all have cuts and bruises and things of that nature that we know to wash, put a Band-Aid on, but sometimes things get a little more serious. So this is an example of a guy that was carrying a piece of glass and it broke, and a big piece cut his hand open and it's bleeding profusely, and we need to help him. So in my case, I actually have gauze and a roll of gauze here, but you can use anything. So we're going to take any piece of cloth. The first thing you want to do is take a piece of cloth, if it's a shirt, a sock, anything at all that's soft, and press it to the wound and hold it. If the person that has a wound can hold the pressure for you, great. Tell them to grab their hand and press and hold pressure as long as they can. You don't want to release pressure. You want to keep holding as long as you can until paramedics arrive or until you can take him to a ER, because this person will probably need a lot of stitches on this hand, right? So we're going to press and hold, or have a person hold that in place. Doesn't matter what it is. We're not going to take a peek, because if we do that, we can re-tear it, reopen it. So we want to make sure we keep that pressure on there. While the person is holding that pressure, I could take another piece of cloth, tear it from a shirt or sock, whatever it may be. In this case, I'm using a roll of gauze. And while that person is applying pressure, we're going to wrap that really, really good around there. Very easy to do. It doesn't have to be exact science. You just want to hold it in there together. Cool. So very, very important first aid. So don't be afraid of a little blood. You want to stop the blood so it's not, so someone doesn't bleed out. They can get really sick that way. So you want to make sure we control their bleeding for them. Okay, friends. So that was a little first aid. I'm so happy you took the time to join me and watch this short video. If you have any questions at all, you can email us at NKU. So you can contact our representative from the Institute of Health Innovations, or you could contact anybody from the College of Health and Human Services. I'm very happy I got this opportunity to share some information with you. I hope you all stay healthy and safe during the coronavirus, and I hope to see you all soon at our fabulous simulation center at Northern Kentucky University. You all take care. Bye.